Live.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Committee of Conference with House and Senate Education on H.727. We're getting hopefully close to finishing our work. We have 727, I think 283 and 716 is on the floor today. I'm going to start by passing out a side-by-side. Oh, you all have this. I'm sorry. Yeah. All right. I'm sorry. I'm used to the usual passing out. So we have a side-by-side in here. We have section by section, and we even have the original the bill as passed. Is that the original bill that we're looking at? No, this is draft 4.1 that passed the. Oh, Daphne, what do we have?
This is 4.1 with differences between House and Senate.
Great, thank you. So as we said to your colleagues this morning, when we were negotiating 456, and I know you all know this, we're definitely running out of time. So our plan is to hopefully finish this today or first thing in the morning, so that we can adjourn on Wednesday. And I think you're going to adjourn soon thereafter, if not on Wednesday as well. So with that, we thought what we might do is start by having the two of you present to us your concerns as it passed the Senate.
Okay, great.
And welcome, I should say. Welcome to your Senate Education. Not you two, but welcome to you, Representative Conley.
If you'd like to leave it,
Keep screaming.
All right, so 727, number one, I watched a lot of what went on in here during it, and really appreciative of the really deep dive you all took. We know we dropped a major bill on you, and you know the care and time you folks took with it as sort of a lead on it in our committee. I really appreciate it. In general, want to just talk really about things we're okay with, and then the things where we see some issues. The addition of the employee transition language at the end.
Do you know are you going to reference pages, representative, or?
I thought I'd just go in general because I don't have the pages in front of me. But if we take the whole employee, because I'm going to really speak just in broad concepts. So the employee transition portion of it, we didn't feel it was necessary. Mostly looking at certain circumstances when it's a small town leaving a large union school district, those employees already have their seniority and their union rights. However, we recognize that further clarification is probably beneficial to everybody, and we appreciate you adding that. The detail that you guys took in terms of so many days that this has to be responded to, so many days that this has to be responded to, also appreciated. And definitely makes the bill stronger and clearer, which of course this whole bill is about making things clear. And you know, and then the goal of the moratorium on school closures is understandable, and especially in my area as a way to sort of lower the temperature. I understand it as a concept, but I think as we sort of heard from the Superintendent's Association, it may have a few unintended consequences. It may confuse things, especially as we go forward, testing for PCBs, for example, or having staffing crises or whatever. That 2-year moratorium perhaps creates some unintended consequences. But again, I just want to say, understand the concept, actually support the idea of lowering the temperature. I think the crux of our differences is really in the power of the Agency of Education or State Board to stop sort of the process of the voters in the withdrawal process. Within the House especially, but basically within a lot of small communities, there remains really strong skepticism and outright antagonism regarding Act 46 and mergers.
So may I interrupt for a second?
Yeah.
So you say the power of the Agency of Education and the State Board to stop the process?
Yeah. Well, I guess it really is, as every it sounds like the Secretary's decision can be appealed. So we'll just call it the State Board's power to stop the process.
And correct me if I'm wrong, because I was not the chair of this committee during Act 46, and this during the Act 46 process, things did land with the state board. That is correct. That was the final, that's where the buck stopped.
Yeah, so in terms of, well, Act 46 was all about unifying or merging,
Right.
not about withdrawing. So yes, the buck stopped with the state board in terms of it being able to compel mergers that weren't voluntary.
Thank you.
So, as I said, there's, and because of that, if as part of the result of that, there's still, some strong skepticism, if not outright antagonism regarding Act 46 and unified governance. And giving the Secretary, well, the State Board of Education a veto power that they really didn't have previously, our concern is that it sort of serves to stoke that animosity a little further. And frankly, potentially dooms the bill on the floor of the House.
So just to clarify, so you just said the Agency of Education, correct?
State Board.
State Board of Education. Okay, okay, that's the.
Feel free to correct.
No, I just want to make sure I'm clear. Thank you.
The withdrawal process that we laid out in our bill is arduous. We feel responsible, including the 60% vote requirement. And that's even though a lot of members in the House considered what we did to be far too much. I think that sort of is the crux. This sort of spills over into the carve-outs. In the Ripton carve-out, our approach was to respect the fact that Ripton had completed the withdrawal process with approval by the State Board of Education under current rules, and it didn't seem fair to change the rules after the fact and after they had received their approval. The off-ramp we had provided in our version was to allow Ripton and any of the other towns in the carve-outs to sort of say, okay, we don't want to go forward, and give them an easy out, no shame, and allow them to continue the education of their children without that education being sort of disrupted. The delay language added by you folks, frankly, appreciated. I think it gives those towns in the carve-outs time, a better chance at a successful withdrawal with a coordinated plan. Stowe, as I had been told, is basically unchanged. So that carve-out, I don't really have any comment on. Similar to, I guess my comments with Lincoln would be similar to Ripton in that they've gone through much of the process under the current rules. They really felt that the sort of state board advisory, making that public discussion, added another layer of accountability, another layer of information to the voters. Starksboro, we had not addressed in our language. You had, I suppose, philosophically, we would, if we're going to say that they deserve a carve out, well, then that carve out should be equivalent to both Lincoln and Ripton, if they stood for that matter. So, that's really kind of what it boils down to for us. I don't know if you want to go through things line by line. I don't think we have to.
So just to confirm, so the big thing for us in talking with our colleagues is, that power of the state board to stop the process. That is the biggest issue. And if we could do something on that, you would be okay, or are there other, because I know you did mention that was probably a real sticking point in advancing things further in the House.
Yeah, so I would say that, that what you just said is correct. The moratorium, again, philosophically, totally get where the Senate was coming from on that. We probably just need to discuss the unintended consequences, and can we sort of create some language that would address those.
Is Senator First?
Senator Firstly is just running a little bit late.
Understood.
Yeah.
And Aaron Brady on our side has got a bill on the floor this yesterday.
So for those following the work, and for those this might be their first time in a committee of conference, this is just an opportunity to hear what their big concerns are. And then we will break. We'll probably come back. Maybe you're here tomorrow. Maybe sometime tomorrow, and then we will.
Okay, that's fine. Again, I just want to say we are coming from a position of appreciation for the time and work you guys put into this, and you know, and that you really understand what you've done here.
So as it relates to the moratorium, what kind of language would you be comfortable with if we were to adjust that?
It seems to me that we would have to, or that we should have some fallback that would allow an exception for building health-related issues. And an inability to staff, or I guess you could even say effectively educate the children in that building.
We contemplated that language at one point in the process, and I'm inclined to think, I haven't spoken to Senator Terenzini about this or Senator Persler, but I think that makes sense, something like that, but you know, we can talk about that. Anything else?
Yeah, the only other thing I think that you folks changed was from our process, if a town receives a negative response from the State Board of Education, we had in the 60% threshold, which you removed. I'd just be happy to hear sort of thinking on that.
Sure, we heard from a number of people, felt as though it wasn't consistent with some other voting processes that we have. Many people were concerned that it was also too high of a bar. It seemed words like undemocratic were tossed around. So in the end, we thought it probably makes sense to kind of make it a little bit more arduous, isn't the right word, but have a couple of other processes put in place to make sure that the right thing is being done. Does that make sense? Well, so just to review, so power of the state board to stop the process, you'd like that removed. The moratorium around unintended consequences, in other words, some language that would allow for situations such as health-related issues in buildings, things like that. Seems to make sense as well. So what I would ask then, if it works for all of you, why don't you have that all drafted? I don't see by ledge council those two pieces, and we can look at the language when Senator Persler's here later today. Okay, does that make sense?
Fine by me. I mean, it shouldn't. We'll work on the 2-year moratorium language, and the rest of it is really just an advocacy for our original position anyway. So that should be.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that. And be good to have it in writing. Yep. And then I'm thinking, so we have another committee of conference with all of you on 283 at 3:30. We're on the floor at 4. I know Senator Terenzini is going to be driving home, but Senator Persler's here. We might try to pull everybody together, and maybe Senator Terenzini by Zoom later.
Post the 4th.
Post the 4 or 5 o'clock, maybe 6 o'clock.
So you guys are on the floor at 4:30.
We're on the floor at 4.
You're talking about post. No, you're on the floor at 4:30.
Oh, are we?
Oh no,
Oh,
4. That's right. The next meeting's at 3:30. Okay.
So then we have a caucus at 5, but it's, maybe if it makes sense, we could all either, have a Zoom or something around 6 o'clock just to take a look at that language, if that works for everybody.
All right, sounds good. And Beth St. James, I'll connect with you when we're complete here just to go over some language.
Senator Terenzini, do you see any, just get it on paper?
No, I think it's important to get on paper. We hear your thoughts and concerns loud and clear, and we want to make this bill happen, so.
Oh, slow down. All right. We do indeed. We know this is very important. Many people say this is Senator Terenzini's favorite bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna found copy. We can all
Free lunch, that was my favorite bill.
Right.
Just kidding.
Just
Just kidding.
Yeah, I just got
You
my
voted for it.
I did, thank you, thank you.
Anything else?
Done.
Russ, you want to take this offline, Deb? Thank you.